Hello and welcome to Meldon Law and Friends, your weekly podcast brought to you by Meldon Law, your statewide law firm with its primary office in Gainesville and also with an office in South Florida, covering the entire South Florida Tri-County area, Miami-Dade, Broward, and Palm Beach County, and also covering Central Florida with an office in Ocala. Jeffrey Meldon, people asked me last week, are we going to be doing a show on Christmas Day? Yes, we are. How about that?
Yeah, this is our gift to all of you. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and we're really excited to welcome everybody to Meldon Law and Friends. We've been getting great response from everybody, and we want to thank you. It's been such a strange year for us, but amazingly, we've grown the law firm. We've started the podcast. We went digital in all of our files during this year, and we've persevered and been able to succeed. So, Chris, I want to thank you for all of your contributions.
No, it's been an honor, Jeffrey. I say this not just because I'm sitting here next to you and you're my boss, but I love working at Meldon Law, and I know I speak for everybody on the staff, and it's true. We really have grown. And, you know, when the COVID thing first kicked in, you kind of took the bull by the horns, got everybody together and said, guess what? We're not slowing down. We're moving full speed ahead. We're going to do things differently. We're using the Zoom technology, not just with clients, but with our staff. It's been a great year, all things considered.
Yeah, it's been really exciting. We have Zoom meetings, our daily huddle, generally every day at 4 o'clock. We all get together via Zoom because we have offices in Gainesville, Ocala, and South Florida, and we all connect, and we've been able to maintain an even closer communication during this COVID time than when we were all working during normal times, which is very strange.
And incredibly, in particular, the last month and a half, we've seen insurance companies, we've seen defense counsel be extraordinarily cooperative. We've gotten some big cases worked out.
Yeah, we've been growing our practice 25% a year for the last 4 years, and now we grew it even more than 25% this year, and we're looking forward to a great 2021.
So before I introduce our guest, I want to remind everybody that our primary practice areas are personal injury law. We handle big truck crashes, motor vehicle crashes, trip and fall, slip and fall. We also handle criminal defense, DUI defense. Call that number. I think I'm pointing to it correctly, or rather go to that website, www.meldonlaw.com. Call us anytime toll free at 1-800-373-8000. A Meldon will speak to you, or a legal professional, but whatever it is, whatever it may be, even if it's not in those primary practice areas, Jeffrey's been doing this a long time. We'll steer you in the right direction. But before I go any further, I want to introduce our guest today, Mr. Bob Ganzak.
Thank you, Chris.
Who is he's a facilitator for the Dale Carnegie course in Gainesville. You've done some amazing things here. Welcome to the program.
Thank you very much. Merry Christmas, and I'm so thankful to be here with you today.
Well, I know that you've got a background in media. You were telling me before we started that you were in radio, so you're no stranger to doing media appearances. So maybe tell, for the benefit of our viewers and listeners, we're on multiple platforms, how you came to be what you're doing today, and talk a little bit about your Dale Carnegie course.
I was in the radio business for 30 years. And early in my career, I was searching for, I actually was made a manager of a radio station, and I was searching for some type of a leadership program to go through. I'd read the book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. And so I signed up for a Dale Carnegie course. In the little town that I was living in, it was sold out. So I had to wait a year. And I went through the program, and it was just a fascinating, life-changing thing for me. Mm-hmm. And then I became a graduate assistant, and for about 16 years, I put my staff through the program. And one day, Buddy Faulkner, who was the franchisee out of Jacksonville, approached me. I was working with him, and he approached me to join his team, and I did. And so I actually am a student, a customer, and now an instructor. So I've gone all through the program.
And what are some of the key components of the Dale Carnegie course as it exists today?
Well, communication, building confidence, people skills. It's one of the things that, we just don't get along all the time. And how can we agree on things but yet not have the same standpoint or the same opinion on it. And then also just managing stress. I mean, 2020 has been a huge part of that.
I knew there was a reason you wanted me to take this class.
Well, so Bob, actually, every lawyer who practices personal injury law should take this course, and probably a lot of other parts of the law practice. But it's amazing because in the past several months, we've had a number of mediations in our personal injury cases, and what you're describing is exactly what the mediator does, is try to get people together during these mediation sessions. Sometimes they last all day long. But have you ever taught mediation to lawyers?
We've had people in the class. I've not exactly taught mediation to lawyers, but I've had attorneys in the class. And,
one in particular I can think of. But
well,
go ahead.
a number of them. Yes, your son, Kerry, has been
And he really got a lot out of it.
He did. He speaks glowingly of the program. He's just said so many wonderful things about it.
Well, you know, one of the challenges is we all have those areas that we are in our comfort zone.
Sure.
That what I call the transformation zone of being confident. Yet you can be taken out of that and immediately lose your confidence. Sure. So it's how do you carry that through different situations, which is a key. So there might be an attorney that is great at developing, a process, yet when they get into a certain situation, all of a sudden it's like new territory. Those are some of the things that we work with on that.
Well, I think also communicating with our clients is extremely important, because every time I talk with a client, I always learn something new. It always helps me develop their case because I get more information. And with that information, then all of a sudden I can get a new perspective on how to present their case. And when we get into mediation, it's amazing the process that we start out with people on different sides of the spectrum. And then all of a sudden we hire some very, very skilled mediators, and they wind up bringing the sides closer and closer and closer to having some kind of a unified vision. And as they explain it, some of their best mediation results are when they settle a case and both parties feel like either they paid too much and the other party feels they took too little, but yet they still agreed to settle the case.
Agreed.
So there's not always unanimity in that it was a perfect result, but it was a result that was better than the alternative.
So you do this, I'll call it consulting, training for want of a better term. You do it for individuals, but do you also do it for companies, for corporations also?
We have people that place groups of individuals into classes. And we also do what we refer to as in-house classes.
Okay, so you'll come to a business and you'll do a training.
I spent about 4.5, 5 years of my career working inside Northrop Grumman with their team where they build the E2D.
What city is that in?
St. Augustine.
Uh-huh.
Right at their offices are in their plant is in St. Augustine, right at the airport. And you're working with engineers, manufacturers, office personnel, bringing them together, working on their ability to manage stress, communicate with each other. As Jeffrey, as you were talking, a lot of people think of communication and they only think of this, where communication are these also. So you want to listen, and you were just saying, you learn so much by listening to your clients. So often we think that communicating is just talking. It's absorbing also.
Sure. So let's talk about the class you just did in Gainesville. You recently had a training. We talked about Carrie was one of your students. Talk about that. How did that go for you?
An amazing experience for me. A lot of it had to do with COVID. So we were shut down as far as doing in-person classes since February. I graduated a class in Valdosta, Georgia, probably in February sometime. And then right away, COVID shut everything down. So this was the first time getting back in the room with a group of professionals. And so there was a little bit of angst on my part too, 9 months without being in front of a group of people, and all of a sudden you're thrust into that. So it got me out of my comfort zone. But what a wonderful group of people, just leaders in this community, and it was really exciting.
As I understand it, there had not been a Dale Carnegie course taught in Gainesville for a while.
It had been a while, yes.
So this is really a great asset for the Gainesville community to be able to start this incredible program right here in town, and people can, they don't have to drive an hour, 2 hours to get there.
True, and they can do it in person, and the facility and Celebration Point, Hotel Indigo, where we had it, everything was just so professional and well done.
So how many sessions are there? Maybe talk about the mechanics of the class, how it's structured.
So we have 8 sessions that are 3.5 hours each.
Okay.
They can be at different times. Usually we do from 6 until 9:30. And they're not, they're participation programs. It's not like you're going in listening to a lecture. You're in small groups, you're in large groups, groups of 3, whole classes, one-on-one. It's a variety of things throughout the entire evening. So it moves fast. And when you really think that 8 weeks times 3.5 is like, what, 26, 28 hours? That investment in your life, there's probably an hour and a half of reading per week. There's a little bit of preparation each week, but not a great amount.
I think I shared with you before we went on the air here, before we started taping, that I was a public relations major at the University of Florida. I'm aging myself. I graduated in 1979. And for the first PR class I took, back then it was called PR 101 at the journalism school, our textbook was the Dale Carnegie book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. And it's timeless. It's really amazing, isn't it? When was it written?
Well, he actually started writing the book early in the late teens of the 1900s. And it was published in 1936. And it was just an incredible conglomeration of a lot of people working with him. And he used to keep these little notes. I've seen the manuscript in the offices in New York. It's just fascinating to see.
Well, they really are universal truths, things that no matter what era, no matter what age, it applies universally, right?
It does. And a lot of people say, I've been doing that my whole life. I don't know where I found it. Usually you find a path that somebody had given you the book, or somebody had read the book or taken the class along the way.
When is the next session going to be happening in Gainesville?
We start January 26th.
Okay.
So it'll be a nice way to start.
Another 8-week session. It will run into middle of March?
Yes.
Okay. I'm sure we'll have some information on the screen. And you have a website, right?
Yes, we do. It's jacksonville.dalecarnegie.com.
Okay. Well, we're going to keep you around for the next segment. This
Great.
is very fascinating. There will be a link on the screen, in fact, telling people, showing you where you can go and get information about this terrific course. Again, you are watching Meldon Law and Friends, a service of Meldon Law, a statewide law firm with its primary office in Gainesville. We are in our 6th decade. We started in the 1970s. We're also having an office in South Florida, the entire Tri-County area, Miami-Dade, Broward, Palm Beach, and also Central Florida in Marion County in Ocala. My name is Chris Qualman. I am what am I? I am the pre-litigation manager and chief investigator for the firm. Jeffrey Meldon, of course, the founder, the president, the CEO, basically the everything. We'll be right back. Thanks so much for watching.
The Meldon Law Firm from the beginning has been built on giving back to the community. I enjoy coming to work as much today as I did in 1971 when I opened my practice. I don't look at this as a job. I look at it as serving other people. While we're alive, what better feeling can you achieve than knowing that you've helped other people and thereby you enrich your own life?
Being a client at Meldon Law was special because I felt like I was really being listened to and I felt welcome by the entire staff. If I were in a situation where I needed legal advice and help, I would absolutely reach out to Jeffrey because his reputation alone speaks for itself. But on a personal level, I know that he would take care of me and help me solve those problems, and I would feel safe with him.
Hello and welcome back to our Christmas edition of Meldon Law and Friends. Today is Christmas Day. It's Friday, December 25th, 2020. It's amazing, Jeffrey. As I said during the first segment, people have been asking me all week, are we doing a Christmas show? We sure are.
Yeah, well, we want to thank everybody again. This is really exciting, and we have a great guest today, Bob Ganzak. And Bob, I've heard stories about this Dale Carnegie course that about almost every president in the last 75, 80 years has taken this course.
One after another have gone through the program, which is just a remarkable thing when you think about it, is how you grow in that leadership role.
Yeah.
Now, did they take it before they became president?
Yes.
Wow.
Okay. So listen, if anybody out there wants to be president of the United States, contact Bob. He's got a class coming up starting in January of 2021. And you
I don't know, after all that's gone on, people want to be
president of the
president.
United States.
But the great thing is, though, you were telling us, during the first segment about it's such a cross section of people. Obviously, lawyers are in there. Carrie Meldon took it. I'm going to be taking it. I'm very proud to say, coming up in just a few weeks. But you had real estate professionals. You had people from all walks of the community.
Engineers, there's different pods of individuals get involved. IT, people that you would think accountants, engineers, they take it for a certain reason.
Salespeople, I know.
Now the salespeople take it for another reason, because it teaches you so much. But there are some people that are more introverted that need to come out. Engineering, IT, accounting, those type of individuals would help them come out of their shell, sort of, say. And then we have other individuals who it just helps them, their negotiating tactics and management, manufacturing, communicating. If you're building a product and you have manufacturing, you want to start communicating between different departments, opens up those avenues and channels. So.
Well, it's interesting because my kids used to make fun of me because I read all kinds of books. They call it either motivational books or business books.
He's not kidding. He really does.
And I incorporate them in our team meetings at the office. I incentivize employees to read new books and come up with new ideas and incorporate them in what I call creating raving fans for the law firm. And that's something that I've been doing so long. And of course, my son makes fun of me, and my daughter, I'd give them the Dale Carnegie book, and say, okay, read it, and I don't know if they ever read it or not, but they knew it was important to me, and that it was something that I had read and really valued the information. So what's interesting to me is the success of this book. It's a timeless book. And that it's been around almost over 100 years.
Yes.
Or he started it over 100 years.
When was it published?
1936, close to 100.
Pretty close.
Okay.
84, that's good enough.
Close enough. Okay. So explain to us, how widely has this been published, and what do you attribute its success to?
Well, the class itself, we're in 86 different countries now, over 35 languages. The book itself was one of the top business books of the 20th century, continues to go in the 21st century. And what I find very fascinating is our generation Z and Y. It's become a very popular book amongst the young people also, which is encouraging.
That's very encouraging to hear.
Very encouraging.
So I wanted to ask you, though, one of the famous stories is Warren Buffett. Warren Buffett, I understood, had some involvement in the course and a certificate. Why don't you explain Warren Buffett's story?
So, Mr. Buffett, the story that I've read and listened to him tell is that he had taken the class, he had signed up for the class at 1 year and then kind of chickened out and dropped out. And then 1 year later, he took the class, and it was life-changing for him. So there's a great YouTube video with he and Katie Couric. And he takes you into his office, and the only thing you see on any of his walls is one certificate. You walk down his hallway outside of his office, and all of his college certificates are there. But when you go into his office, there's just the Dale Carnegie graduate certificate.
Wow.
Because he said it changed his life.
Here's the ticket. Take the Dale Carnegie course.
So getting back to this course from the fall you were talking about, I understand we had a special guest, Steve Spurrier, came and talked with the class. Tell us about that interaction.
Well, Freddie Wiebe had mentioned that to me, that Coach could possibly come in. So we didn't tell the class. We just made sure that everybody got there on time at 6 o'clock. And it was the week that session 7, where we're talking about inspirational stories. You're in the middle of the leadership program of the class, and in walks Coach Spurrier.
Head ball coach.
Oh, my goodness. And he gave us probably 30, 35, 40 minutes of his time. And I have to go up there and teach after that. And it was practically impossible because he just had that whole room just
Mesmerized, I'm sure.
So was he talking about like some of his pregame and halftime talks and how he would, inspire the teammates to move forward?
Jeffrey, he told stories going back to Duke and South Carolina, and what his leadership program was, and how he set goals with the players, and just the interactions with the kids. And what absolutely got to me was that he memorizes individuals, players, their numbers, where they were from, and everything, going all the way back to the beginning.
That's part of the course, too. I told you before we went on the air that I remember that from the book, how Dale Carnegie said there is nothing sweeter to a person's ears than the sound of their own name. And Spurrier has always espoused that, right?
And that key word that you used, Chris, was sound. Mr. Carnegie didn't describe it as word, it was the sound of that. It's the sweetest and most important sound to anybody is their own name. I mean, you could be in a high school gymnasium that has for me, the acoustics are terrible. You can't even hear the person next to you. Somebody mentions your name from across the room, and wow, it just is there.
Yeah. So I want to remind our viewers and listeners, shameless plug time. We, of course, had Steve Spurrier, the head ball coach, on our podcast a few weeks ago. So you can go back to the Meldon Law Facebook page, or you can go to our YouTube page, look at all of our podcasts.
We've had a lot of others besides Spurrier.
That's right. We had Dr. Pete Indelicato. We had Pat Dooley. We've had so many people.
Shane Matthews was on last week.
We had the guys from Opus Coffee, the Reverend Carl Anderson, Lizzie Jenkins. It's really been quite a ride.
And Rabbi Golden showed up. And we're really excited about the diversity of folks that we're having on the show. And if any of you want to email us, my email is jmeldon@meldonlaw.com. And if you want to throw out some names for potential guests, we love it. Our goal is to make this an interesting show that everybody wants to watch.
We've got a great guest coming up, too. We've got my good friend, longtime friend, Alex Marvez, friend of yours, friend of the firm, sports writer extraordinaire. He started with the Independent Florida Alligator. He's now a weekly, actually daily, I should say, radio host on the Sirius XM NFL network. So we'll be talking to Alex in just a few minutes. So stick around, and we'll have Alex on just shortly. But I want to go back to something else we talked about. There's a thing called the Golden Book app, right? Explain what that is and how that ties in.
So the Golden Book app is just an app that Dale Carnegie has put out. You can find it in the Apple Store or any of the app centers that you can go to. And it has the 30 human relation principles in it.
Okay.
And the 30 stress principles. So you can, if you're on the go, you're in a situation that you want a little bit of help with, you can go there, look up the principle, and then go ahead with whatever your challenge is at that time.
Well, that's really important, and it's something that at Meldon Law we try to incorporate because we constantly go through changes, and our purpose is to help people improve their lives after having some difficult circumstances. So you're dealing with people who are in high stress situations who don't know what the future is going to be, and whether we know where they're going to get to or not, we have to act like we're fine and we're confident we're going to get you there. Yes. And so those are the kinds of principles that I think really help.
The enthusiasm, Jeffrey, that you have just coming across the table here, as Mr. Carnegie said, that enthusiasm is that little known secret of success. And that is such a huge part when somebody is down, to pick them up, lift them up emotionally with a little bit of enthusiasm. That's a huge part of the positivity.
So your 3 favorite principles, what would those be?
Okay, so smile,
Okay,
see things from the other person's point of view,
got to work on that one. Okay.
and ask questions instead of giving direct orders. It's now I also like don't criticize, condemn, or complain, which is the first principle, but it's such a challenge in all of our lives that I usually go with principle 5, 17, and then asking questions instead of giving
We
direct
had a
orders.
book report that everybody in the office had to read this book called No Ego. And the principle of that book was no bitching, whining, or moaning, okay? It was like, if you have a problem, okay, you try to come up with some alternative solutions before you come to your supervisor and complain, okay? It's like, okay, there's a problem and I don't know what to do with this. You solve the problem, or at least try to, and then come to somebody. And we got the best response from everybody on that. It was a really good experience.
I like that you challenge your staff, your team. I like that.
Well, one thing, and just kudos to you, Jeffrey, and to Carrie, because again, going back to when the whole COVID situation kicked in and we had to kind of rally the troops, and one thing you did, I know this has always been part of your foundation running the firm, but was sharpen the saw. Let's work on these things. We read the Cy Wakeman books. We did some things from your CRISP video mastermind group. And so this is something we as a firm, I know that we've been doing a long time.
Yeah, I don't know if you know, but Carrie and I have been in this mastermind group now for 2 years with the 25 top law firms from around the United States. And every 3 months we get together in person and share development stories, experiences, and we spend 2 intensive days where we have no communication with our offices, and we just work together with
and we
25 other lawyers, and we have a leader, and then guest speakers come in. So it's almost like the course that you're talking about, as far as trying to keep the saw sharp and keep developing our skills. And I'm supporting Chris going into the Dale Carnegie course.
I'm excited about it.
So anywhere you are at, whether it's Gainesville, South Florida, Ocala, or whatever, I would really encourage you to look up the Dale Carnegie course and whether you can attend, because everybody that I've talked to has had nothing but kudos to say about it. And I want to thank Bob for joining us today and explaining a little bit about the ins and outs of it.
Appreciate it.
And we'll have a link on the screen as to where people can get information about the class. And we certainly urge people to check it out. These are universal truths no matter what you do, whether it's law, medicine, accounting, sales, real estate, anything. You'll get something out of this course. Again, you are watching Meldon Law and Friends, our special Christmas edition, Friday, December 25th, 2020. And we will be right back with another terrific guest, my good friend, longtime friend, Alex Marvez, sports writer, radio broadcaster, heck of a knowledgeable guy when it comes to sports and football. We'll be talking to him in just a couple of minutes. Take a look at our website, www.meldonlaw.com. Learn about our practice areas. We practice in personal injury law, criminal defense law, DUI, statewide, South Florida, Tri-County area, Central Florida, main office in Gainesville. On behalf of Jeffrey, Meldon, and myself, we wish you Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. We'll be right back.
I was riding as a passenger in my friend's vehicle. A fellow ran a stop sign and we T-boned him. Had neck and shoulder and knee injuries and didn't know what to do, and I remember seeing one of Jeffrey's ads. So I gave him a call. He explained everything to me. I'd go see him and everything was done. Everything was taken care of. Don't waste your time with anybody else. Go see Jeffrey.
Well, I was in a truck accident. Because of the accident, I've resulted in 3 back surgeries. We saw advertisements on TV, and guess who popped up more often than not? It was Jeffrey. The communication that he provided was so appreciative. He shows his compassion as a human. He assisted us in achieving one of our dreams, the acquisition of a home, and we're here today with smiles on our face with the assistance from Jeffrey.
Hello and welcome back to this special Christmas Day edition of Meldon Law and Friends, your weekly podcast from Meldon Law, a statewide law firm with its primary office in Gainesville, also with an office in South Florida. You didn't know that. We now cover the entire South Florida area, Miami-Dade County, Broward County, all the way up to Palm Beach County, and of course, Marion County in Ocala. My name's Chris Qualman, and I'll be talking about my good friend in just a couple of minutes, Alex Marvez. I'm thrilled to have him on the show. But Jeffrey, again, because it's Christmas Day, I know we got some special things we want to talk about for our friends, listeners, and viewers statewide. Well,
first of all, I want to thank everybody for joining us. And since it's Christmas, I wanted to talk about some of the Christmas gifts that Meldon Law has been giving away, and you too can get involved. This is our Meldon Law newsletter that goes out every single month.
Hold it up to the camera now.
12 times a year. Yeah, okay. 12 times a year. And we started it in 2007. So I'm very proud that we're in our 14th year now of not missing one single month for 14 years. That's what I call persistence and determination. And I always write the front page article. And this month we have a picture of Carrie and I with our Florida Gators. And as many of you know, during 2020, Meldon Law became the only official law firm partner of the Florida Gators. And we're extremely proud that the Gators chose Meldon Law to be their partners. Among all the other very fine law firms that are out there, we were selected by the Florida Gators to partner up with them. And we are going to be continuing this into 2021 and beyond. In our newsletter, we have a number of giveaways every month. And it was masked during COVID. We gave away certain credit cards to help local merchants improve their business during COVID. We've been providing a free attorney hotline. And something that we've actually been doing for several years is providing a Harry's gift card for $25 to any of our subscribers to our newsletter. And if you're interested, you can call our office at 1-800-373-8000 and just say you want to be added to the newsletter list, and then you'll get the coupon for the free $25 gift certificate to Harry's Bar and Grill, which is in Gainesville and Ocala. And you too can join us in supporting another local business. And it's our way of giving back to the community that's given us so much. In addition to the newsletter, you'll also receive the book that I wrote called Buying Florida Auto Insurance, a 3-step approach to purchase adequate auto insurance at competitive pricing. And the whole purpose of me writing this book is because so many folks are in serious accidents in the state of Florida, and they don't realize that in the state of Florida, you're like in the Wild West of insurance. There's no mandatory bodily injury liability insurance, which means the other person is not likely to have enough insurance to compensate you if you're seriously injured in insurance, as far as being compensated by the insurance you need to protect yourself. We explain to you how to get adequate insurance. It's called uninsured motorist coverage, and it's very important. And this is also free. So if you call for our newsletter, we'll be glad to give you for free my book, Buying Florida Auto Insurance, along with the accident guide. I sound like some pitchman on one of these. It's
okay though. People love it. I mean, I do the radio show with you. People call and say how much they appreciate all this.
Well, I'm passionate about it. So to me, you can call me a pitchman. I don't care. I love it. Anyhow, if you're in a crash and you're freaking out and you don't know what to do, all you have to do is find the red envelope that we'll send you, and it goes in your glove compartment, and it's called the Florida Accident Guide, and it tells you what to do. So, for example, you take the picture, you get your camera, your cell phone,
whatever.
I used to send out free cameras before we had cell phones to people so they could put in their glove compartment. It was one of those throwaway disposable cameras, right? And now everybody's got their cell phone. So, but you take a picture of the license plate of the other vehicle, of any witness vehicles, the damage to the other vehicles, to your vehicle, and any accidents, skid marks, the scene of the accident. And it just goes 1, 2, 3, 4, tells you what to do.
Okay.
So anyhow, I've got a whole bunch of other things that we're giving away. Like we got Meldon Law sunglasses. We've got the Meldon Law pop socket. We'll send it all to you. But
all right.
I want to move on to our guest, Alex Marvez, because we're really excited. This is a great show. And thank you, Alex, for joining us.
Thanks. By the way, he didn't pitch the fact that there's a recipe in every newsletter, by the way.
That's
I just
true.
want to point this
That's
out.
Alex
I am
gets
an
our
avid reader to that newsletter, and I did get the free masks, I admit. So yes, it is great to be with you here, Jeffrey. Thank you, and Chris, of course.
Oh,
it's an honor to be
absolutely.
around.
Well, you and I, in full disclosure, have known each other a long time.
Almost 30 years now.
That's
yeah.
right. I remember when you were a reporter for the Independent Florida Alligator. And just quickly, maybe for the benefit of viewers, I think a lot of people know who you are from the NFL radio network, but how did you get to be doing what you're doing?
I'm very blessed. I really got lucky. In 1987, as a junior in high school, I attended a journalism seminar at Florida International University, and my high school football team was terrible. And I was a big part of why I was terrible, trust me. But we had suffered encephalitis, and it had decimated the team. We're talking about a school, 2,800 kids. We were down to about 22 players. I mean, yeah, and nobody wanted to play football. The school was on a losing streak. And I pitched this story to George Diaz, who went on to become a writer at the Orlando Sentinel. I said, George, I think this might be an interesting story. He goes, hey, thanks a lot for that. Do you want a job? And I'm like, yeah, I do. So I began covering high school football games at the Miami Herald. I came up to Gainesville in 1990, January of 1990. And what was interesting was at the time, the National was a major newspaper that
I remember it well.
Launched a national newspaper.
Frank DeFord, right?
Yeah, Frank DeFord. And they rated the Miami Herald of much of its talent, which was incredible for me. The Florida correspondent that we had, Lawrence Hollyfield, who went on to another journalism career, still an editor in Tampa, or last I checked, he left, so I became a Gator stringer. So I picked up his gigs. So I got to cover Steve Spurrier's first 3 years, and I'm working my way up. Then at some point, I worked and partied my way out of college. And I knew, though, that I had to finish. So the Miami Herald said, if you come back and you get your degree, we'll give you a full-time job. So it led to that. I covered the Miami Heat for a season. Then in 1995, tired of South Florida, wanted to do something different. I began covering the NFL, covered the Bengals for 2 years, moved from Dayton, Ohio to Denver, covered the Broncos 2 Super Bowl seasons, went back to South Florida, 99 to 07, covered the Dolphins at the South Florida Sun-Sentinel, went to work for Fox Sports, did that for about a decade, 2 very forgettable years at Sporting News, and then decided to concentrate full-time, Sirius XM NFL radio, and also a pro wrestling opportunity emerged for me to do some announce work for All Elite Wrestling, with my good friend Tony Khan. His family owns the Jacksonville Jaguars, and Tony, our CEO with AEW. So it's been an amazing ride. I am so blessed to do what I do. It has been, I feel like I work all the time, but it's not like work, if you know what I mean.
So let's talk about the radio gigs. So you're on every weeknight, correct?
Yeah, I'm on most weeknights. Our
weeknights.
schedule changes, in season, off season, depending upon games. And I get to work with Hall of Famers. I mean, look, Gil Brandt is my regular radio partner. The man who basically invented the scouting system. He is the godfather of analytics. He called them probabilities back in the 1960s.
Right.
But he also had a computer, and Vince Lombardi went up to him and made a snide comment because you would draft in person. And there was a player that had to get a physical, Mel Renfro, that had a concern about an arm injury.
Wow, what a player.
Yeah, the Hall of Famer, right? And they sent someone down, and Lombardi comes by and makes some snide comment. That didn't happen on your computer, did it? You didn't see that. And so Lombardi does this, and then 2 years later, he's asking Gil how much it would cost for the Packers to get their own computer system, right? Because he sees what's going on there. But I get to work with Gil. I get to work with Bill Polian on a regular basis, another Pro Football Hall of Fame talent evaluator. I work Saturday mornings in season with Tim Brown, Pro Football Hall of Famer. I mean, these are just some of the folks that I get to be with. So it's really nice. And we have a very civil conversation. It's very football oriented, not trying to get into social issues. I'm not against any of that, but we really just try to make it very friendly and inclusive for everyone.
But you left one thing off your resume. You're now a regular member of the Meldon Law Tailgate.
Which is huge, and I've been devastated this past year. No tent out in the parking lot. We don't have Chris Qualman St. Louis ribs. We don't have the incredible catering spread. We don't have the Mick Ultra. We don't have the shot before the game. We're drinking out of
Buddy
the
Hooten, let's
Buddy
give the
Hooten.
shout out to Buddy.
The ceremonial where we take the Gator chalice, fill it full of ice, and then Southern Comfort up to the top.
Yeah.
And then we do our Go Gator cheer with some folks that have never been to a Gator game before. We call them our virgins.
Yes.
Okay? and anyhow, Alex has been part of our tailgate for quite some time
It's
now.
the best.
And
It's the best. And it's been devastating for me, like not having Gator foot, like out of all years. This year's team, this incredibly exciting team.
Tell you what.
And, it's been hard not having the tailgate. It's been hard because of my job, having a quarantine and, because I work for a pro wrestling company and we're around each other all the time and I just simply don't want to put anyone else at risk. I don't want to put my family at risk. So this is my personal decision. And the tailgating's out of the parking lot anyway. So we're all hoping that we get back to normal in 2021 as best we can, so we're able to enjoy this. Because I miss you guys. I miss you. I haven't
We
seen
miss you too.
I haven't seen you in so long.
That's how we get people to come to the tailgate. We say you can meet Alex Marvez. You can ask him who's going to win.
And I'm charging $5 for a photo.
I know. And give the inside scoop on the Dolphins and all these other teams and whatnot. But you were just saying what an incredible year it's been for the Gators. And you look at Kyle Trask and his story, it's amazing, isn't it?
It is. And, it's listen, and we're going to keep hearing this story because it's a very easy media narrative, especially as he goes to the NFL. But I think this is a very legitimate NFL quarterback. Now, is he the fastest quarterback? No. And this is where I think it'll be interesting because his measurables will probably keep him from being a top 10 pick. I'm not saying that he's not going to be a great quarterback because this is where I'm going with this. I think, though, people will look, okay, he's not as fast as maybe some other quarterbacks in this draft. Maybe, we got to check out that knee situation. He's been playing with an injured knee. Is there a chronic issue there? Is that going to be healed? We got to worry about that. But I just think you talk about a guy, he can make the throws. I think that he's a leader. I think he's done an incredible job with his Florida team. You can't ask for much more. And you just saw the spark that he provided after replacing Felipe Franks. I think he's going to be an incredible quarterback.
The guts he showed to me in that SEC championship game, the way he just ducked his head and ran straight into that Alabama line, and he got that 2-point conversion, the touchdown. I mean, you're right. He may not have the foot speed, but that kid's got tremendous guts.
Yeah, it's just interesting, though, what teams are looking for in quarterbacks nowadays, mobile quarterbacks and arm talent. And when you look at what a guy like, Josh Allen is doing for Buffalo, or you look what Patrick Mahomes is doing, Kyle Trask isn't that, but can he win in this league? Absolutely. I am a huge Kyle Trask fan.
Wow. Okay. Well, what about the game next week? So on the 30th, on Wednesday, we're playing in the Cotton Bowl.
Yeah, the Jim Ross, Alex Marvez Bowls.
That's right, because we're up against AEW. What am I going to watch?
AEW, I'll be there. I'll be missing the game, but then I'll be going to the announcer's trailer after.
That's right, JR, Jim Ross. I didn't think of that. Mr. Boomer Sooner. Oh, my gosh. Have you guys talked about this yet?
We have not discussed this yet. We'll try to keep it civil when we do. And it's been frustrating for Jim because he, too, because of COVID concerns, has not gone to his usual OU tailgate spot and up in the booth. But I listen, the question is this, how motivated, and I think this is where Kyle Trask comes in, how motivated is this team to finish strong? How many more players do what Kyle Pitts did and make a business decision, decide not to play because the NFL draft's approaching?
You can't blame him.
I don't blame him.
No, I don't
But this
either.
is just the reality of it where I think OU, they're not dealing with that type of problem. But what an incredible season, regardless of how we do in the bowl for the Gators.
So we've got to cut to a break, but we could go all night, all day with our good friend Alex. We will be back, though, with another segment. You are again watching Meldon Law and Friends special Christmas edition. Today is Friday, December 25th, 2020, Christmas Day. We wish all of you a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, wherever you may be watching, wherever you may be listening on any of the platforms. And Jeffrey, it's been an incredible year, a great episode today.
Yes, yeah, I love it. And we keep building on our podcast success, and we're going to move it forward into 2021.
That is very true. We'll be right back with our final segment.
I've done mornings here on Sky Radio for 17 years. Jeffrey Meldon started doing his weekend show here 16 years ago. One of the things that separates Jeffrey is I don't see him out there hollering for people's business. I see him out there investing in the community. He's touched a lot of lives, and a lot of it he'll never know what a difference he made in somebody's life about information that he has shared on the air.
I was driving behind a lady, and very suddenly she moved out of the way. There was a log laying in the road, and when I hit my brakes, I went on top of the log. I had 280 discs. I just haven't been the same since. Jeffrey Meldon fought for me all the way. Him and his team really went there for me. Throughout the whole lawsuit, he made sure that my bills was paid. It was never no whenever I called him and asked him for something.
Hello and welcome back to Meldon Law and Friends, special Christmas Day edition, Friday, December 25th, 2020. This is, in fact, Christmas Day. My name is Chris Qualman, Chief Investigator, Pre-Litigation Manager for Meldon Law Firm, with Jeffrey Meldon, the founder, President, CEO of Meldon Law. We are now in our 6th decade of operation, handling personal injury cases and criminal defense cases, and like we keep saying every segment, it's been a heck of a year.
Yes, and we're really excited about going into 2021. And I want to thank everybody for helping us grow our law firm. And, we're the only official law firm partner of the Florida Gators.
That's
and,
something, I tell you what.
That's a big deal for us.
And, we've got all these spring sports coming up. And even with the uncertainties with COVID, we've got Gator baseball. You'll see us all over the place at Gator baseball. We've got basketball, of course. We've got volleyball, gymnastics, soccer, lacrosse. It's not just football. It's everything.
Yeah, and I think by the time baseball comes around, we're going to be able to go to games and spread out and watch them.
So I've got to ask my buddy here, Alex Marvez, our guest. Have you been to that baseball stadium? I mean, it's pretty incredible.
It is amazing, especially I remember covering games with Joe Arnold back in the day. And,
sure.
We had, Herbert Perry, is that right, from Mayo, Florida? Back
a quarterback who ended up playing Major League Baseball.
He was fantastic.
He was a much better baseball player than he was a quarterback.
Yes.
Throwing Mayo.
No, that was Kerwin.
Mayo. That's pretty.
Who was that?
That was Kerwin Bell.
Oh,
Kerwin Bell was
the
the throwing Mayo.
okay.
But Herb Perry was quite an athlete too.
I love that. Yeah, and I know it's an incredible facility. And by the way, real quick too, you see it on the buses all across Gainesville. The support that you have for high school athletics and what you do, you and your family, to help support with scholarships and things like that, absolutely incredible. Because listen, not everyone's going to go on to be a professional athlete, but you're offering people a hand up to maybe get into college, to be able to use athletics as a platform to better advance their lives. And I have so much respect for you because of that. So I just want to say thank you because it is something that's very subtle, but it is noticed, from Meldon Law.
Well, thank you very much. We're very proud. It's 24 years now that Meldon Law has been supporting our high school scholar athlete program in partnership with TV20, and that it brings me a lot of pride just to have over 600 high school scholar athletes who we've been able to help and promote their lives.
It's awesome.
And Freddie Swain, one of our winners a few years ago, not doing too shabby for the Seahawks.
No, he's not. And the Seahawks now making the postseason, of course. I know we want to talk a little NFL, and it's crunch time. We got the game coming up later today, Minnesota and New Orleans. And now the Vikings probably not going to make the playoffs. New Orleans, though, are they going to be able to still compete to catch Green Bay, get that number 1 seed? And this is so different in the NFL this year. 2 things that are just radically different going into the postseason. The first, 7 playoff teams in each conference. Only 1 team getting that first round bye, and that is huge because rest is so important for these teams. I know that doesn't guarantee you a spot in the Super Bowl, but it gets a heck of a lot easier if you're able to regroup, be able to give your players a little bit of time off, and then move forward. The other thing is, for the first time since really we can remember, home field advantage does not mean as much.
Oh, sure.
In fact, home teams right now are under 500.
Wow, I didn't know that.
One game under 500 because there's no crowd noise, even though we watch it on TV.
And we hear the piped-in noise. They don't hear it on the field.
So do you have any idea of what the records were pre-COVID for the home field
it was
advantage?
about 60%.
Oh,
60,
wow.
at least 60. Now, it changes, too. It actually was getting narrower and narrower, but there are some places that are just absolutely terrible to play. And when you look at a team like Kansas City going 8-0, on the road this year, it's one of the reasons that they are in position to clinch home field advantage throughout the playoffs. If they beat Atlanta this week, it's the fact that when they come to these cities, they don't have to change things, drastically because of crowd noise, and it is significant.
So I've got to ask you about the 2 Florida teams that have playoff possibilities. And of course, you knew this was coming. My son, Benny, who's a friend of yours also. My son, Benny Qualman, is the most passionate Tampa Bay Bucks fan on the planet. Texts you during games, during your radio broadcast. Right. So let's start with the Bucks.
I have a very hard time reading this team. Very hard time. And maybe, in fact, it's emblematic of how they performed against Atlanta. last Sunday.
Sure, started slow, 31 points in the second half.
Right. And so you don't know what you almost get from week to week. What concerns me about them, this defense is so hit and miss. We could talk about all the offense we want, but usually they're putting up points in the 20s. They're not getting completely shut down. I mean, they're not the smoothest operation right now, but it's the defense to me. When you look at them play high-quality offenses, they have struggled to shut them down. So it'll be interesting to see what matchup they get, in the playoffs. And I'm assuming that they are going to be able to get there. But to me, this is a team, it's all going to be the Brady talk. It's all Tom Brady. I understand that. But if the Bucs fall short this year, I'm not putting it on Tom. I'm putting it on a defense that when they had a chance against certain teams, terrible against New Orleans, terrible against Kansas City, I just look at some of their losses and I throw my hand, I just do this, I shrug, because this defense that can be so good wasn't at times.
How about the Dolphins? We got to ask for our good friend and producer, Freddie Wiebe. Tell us what the Dolphins' chances are.
Well, this is the whole thing. You look at rookie quarterbacks in the postseason and suddenly things sometimes change. Right, Lamar Jackson, he turned back into a pumpkin, unfortunately, a couple years ago with the Baltimore Ravens. We've just seen it where a quarterback has some success and then suddenly gets to the postseason and things get a little bit different. The Dolphins, to their credit, and I give Chan Gailey a heck of a lot of credit because he's been very creative with the offensive game plans. You saw that on display last Sunday against New England. The Patriots didn't know whether, this team was coming or going because they were doing such a great job, mixing things up and getting by with Savon Ahmed. College free agent from Washington. He's leading your team in rushing and, scraps a receiver and tight end because guys are injured. And this defense is really fierce. I think, though, this is a matchup situation for them. If they have to go on the road to a cold weather city, this could be very bad for the Miami Dolphins. And that's where that home field advantage really would come in handy.
So let's, for the benefit of the boss man here, Cleveland Browns, that's his team. Tell us what the chances are for the Browns.
I really like the Browns just because of the fact that they are playing playoff-style football. They run the football so effectively with Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt, and you can control clock. You take some stress off that defense. Now, we got to hope Myles Garrett, who is still struggling with the after effects of COVID, in fact, got into a coughing fit in the locker room before the Monday night, it was a Sunday night game against the New York Giants. He's been having real, respiratory issues. Got to hope that he's healthy because he's a preeminent pass rusher. But I think this Browns team is very dangerous. The big question now is, can they catch Pittsburgh atop the division? Because if Cleveland wins out, if Cleveland wins this week, they play the New York Jets. And I'm not going to knock the Jets. They got their first victory.
They did. How about that?
But if Cleveland beats the Jets and Pittsburgh loses to Indianapolis, then it's for all the marbles on Sunday Night Football in all likelihood in Week 17 for the division. Well, that's interesting. Cleveland gets to host a playoff game. I'm not saying it's full of fans and all that, but a slow field, that icky, sticky Cleveland environment, it suits this team. I just like the fact that they're run competently now. And unless the Washington football team, they may get my Coach of the Year vote. I do have one of the 50 because of Ron Rivera. I mean, he overcame cancer to get, you know what I'm saying, to get his team in the playoffs. If they do that, that's pretty darn impressive. Otherwise, it's Kevin Stefanski all the way. What a home run hire. And maybe John Dorsey would still have his job as GM had he hired Stefanski the first time rather than Freddie Kitchens.
Well, I'll tell you, I was watching that game Sunday night, and I was so proud of my Brownies, because they were like, okay, they're not just a, shot in the dark team now. They're building a real quality ball club. And Baker Mayfield, what a
very
longest NFL pass, right? That bomb he threw, I heard, was like 70 something.
He was trying to beat Uncle Rico from a Napoleon Dynamite and throw it over the mountains. But the thing with Baker is, though, this is where you have a head coach who knows what he's doing, right? They're running what's called 11 personnel last year, 3 wide receivers, and they're having Baker become a drop-back quarterback. Baker Mayfield's not a drop-back quarterback. Okay. He needs to move around. He needs to make plays with his legs. So they put in a more West Coast-style system with bootlegs and waggles and have him on the move and a couple tight ends, and they're very good at the tight end spot. And suddenly, wow, hey, Baker Mayfield's a good quarterback. And kudos to Baker, too, for working. There's a feeling in the NFL sometimes, they call it quarterbacks who love the camera. Guys who are more interested in doing the media relations type stuff. Not even media, but like, commercials and drawing attention to themselves. And Baker does that, but he's also put in the work. So kudos to him. one of the most improved players
Yeah,
in the league.
I love his progressive commercials. You know, Baker at home, and he's out on the field, and the guy that's,
grounds
watering
crew,
the grass says, "Oh, we're having some, folks come over to do something. Oh, we're having guests," and they run out and they go, "He's going to go cook some hot dogs for them or something."
Got to get the tablecloths. I mean,
But
there's no
that really goes a long way as far as personalizing him and getting fans behind the team.
Yeah, and Baker's an interesting guy. He wears his heart on his sleeve a lot, and he said some things through the years I think that have alienated some people, but he has really worked hard.
He's matured, and I think he's a real baller. Couple of other things. So obviously, this man knows what he's talking about, and like we said at the beginning of the of your segment, people can hear you on Sirius XM. What channel is that?
Channel 88 NFL Radio. I'm usually on at night, but we are available via the app, so you can tune in anytime if you miss an edition of Late Hits. I'm on also host the Tailgate Show solo from 9 a.m. to noon every Sunday during the season, and that is we have all the game previews coming up. I mean, I promise I will say something about every single game going on. We have a showcase, a Tailgate Show, Game of the Week. Gil Brandt joins me. Dr. David Chow is our medical analyst. He'll help you set your fantasy football lineups, tell you who's hurt, who's not hurt. Michael Fabiano joins us from SI.com, our fantasy channel, does the same thing. So we're action-packed on Sunday morning.
So, Alex, I got to ask you, do you sit down at night and study NFL rosters?
Oh, nonstop. What I do is I monitor. I monitor Twitter, and I use it as a social media tool. I don't feel the need to comment on everything. I don't feel the need to share my personal life, but I try to monitor what's going on with teams so I have accurate information. I've seen football for 26 years, so I know what I'm looking for when I watch a game, but it's the type of job where I don't have to go to an office. I work in my shorts. I work wearing a T-shirt, and that's fantastic. But, the other thing about it, though, is that I have to work. So, that's the balance. And sometimes people that work at home, and we're finding this out in the pandemic, find it really hard to be able to separate personal life and work. But I work all the time to be able to maintain what it is that I do.
So we've only got a couple of minutes left, but we've got to talk about wrestling very quickly. I mean, that's how you and I got to know each other.
Indeed. And he was
tell the story, Chris, about your involvement with wrestling.
I was a ring announcer for a guy down in, we know very well, down in Orlando. I was the ring announcer for International Wrestling Federation. If you look up IWF Wrestling on YouTube, you'll see a guy by the name of Simon Curtis. No, that was another name I used. Rick Christopher. Rick Christopher is the ring announcer.
You got to check it out for the hair, though.
Yes. Longer hair, maybe a little slimmer waist. Well, let's talk about you. You're on AEW.
I am so proud of this.
And that's terrific.
Thank you so much. And listen, we launched on January 8, 2019. We have already caught up to World Wrestling Entertainment in terms of our demographic, 18 to 49. We're appealing to that demographic. That's really our focus. We hope every age group tunes in, but for us to be able to get in touch and to have contact and to make a rapport with the people that the advertisers target has been huge for us. It led to a contract extension with Warner Media. We're on every Wednesday night at 8 o'clock Eastern time. And it's a company that, for a lot of folks, it's just a modern progression of what maybe World Championship Wrestling once was before it folded, 20 years ago and got purchased by Vince McMahon. We have a very athletic, physical style, but with a lot of young, upcoming talent. We see familiar faces. Sting has come back. All sorts of neat stuff.
So again, John Moxley was Dean Ambrose, and Kenny Omega, now your champion. I mean, you've got some amazing talent.
So, I got to tell you, Alex, my grandmother, this is back in the 1950s, okay? She could, she spoke a little bit of English, but not fluently, but she loved wrestling, okay?
Yeah.
And she would watch it in Cleveland, okay? And we'd watch it, it was done in a local studio there and stuff like that. And in our family, the big argument, was it real or was it fake?
Yep.
And she swore to God it
He'll
was
never
real.
tell. He'll
it
never
was
tell.
real. Okay?
Paychecks are real. That's what I think.
Paychecks are real. This has been a great show. Guys, Alex, I'm so glad you were here. We've been talking about this for several weeks now. I so appreciate. Jeffrey, what a great day. Christmas Day, 2020. We made it through. This was our 9th podcast. We'll be back with podcast in 2021. And we are, of course, the official law firm community sponsor for the Florida Gators. So quite a great year.
Yeah, and again, Chris, your great effort. All of our guests, Alex, Bob, who helped put this show together, and everyone else. I want to thank all of our viewers, our listeners. Keep listening and keep contacting us. 1-800-373-8000 if you want the free Harry's gift card right here. And subscribe to our newsletter. It's really exciting. And we also have a radio show every Saturday at 10:30 on WSKY.
You can listen to it on the internet. Go to the WSKY internet webpage.
Yeah, so we're doing all kind of things. And we want to thank you guys for listening.
Yeah, thank you so much. And we normally do a big Go Gators cheer, but hey, it's Christmas Day. So, Christmas and Happy New Year. Thanks for watching.